in reliable numbers and figures, and if we can only post this online, not by way of a downloadable document, but as something that actually makes sense, then you would have told a story that was literally not possible during the time of newspapers and during the time of TV or radio even. So that's one thing. Covering new media means finding data, not just news. So as you go out and you meet new people, and this is literally what I do with our editors and the reporters do. We literally ask every NGO, we literally ask every government official, what data do you have? And they'll understand. And usually it comes by way of, it could be a Word document. Ideally, it's in Excel spreadsheet. But the point is, ideally, it comes in numbers that we can then try to put some context to and share with people online. So you meet with an NGO, for example, for the environment. You ask them, what data do you have with regards to how many foresters are there in the country? Or how rapidly the hectareage of forests are going down? Believe it or not, you can ask any question and most likely somebody actually has not only the answer, but the actual research and the actual numbers. What we have not gotten ourselves to at this point, and when I say we, I'm talking about journalists and media establishments in particular, is we haven't quite gotten to that standard practice of always asking for the data, not just as background, but as its own story, as its own platform. Okay. The other thing that I want to share apart is that when you cover new media, and this is something that we in particular would tap you and ask you to help us out in, is of course one of the biggest aspects to new media now is social media. Twitter, Facebook, whatever new social media platform is out there. The reality is it's very hard for us to cover these platforms. It's very hard to cover Facebook. It's very hard to cover Twitter. There are tools that we now use a lot, such as Storyfy, for example, to help us find these very easily and to collate it and to provide it. Mag-i-eleksyon na sa 2030. We need a lot of volunteers. We need a lot of volunteers who will help us to monitor all the different things that will be going on. And we'll be trying to monitor on the national level, we'll be trying to monitor on the local level. It's good that we have social media because it makes it possible. But the sheer volume of information that's out there, on the one hand reliable, on the other hand unreliable, makes it very hard for us to sift. Makes it very hard for us to make a decision on what is reliable or not. They mentioned that I was part of an organization for 6 years. One of the biggest stories that was fascinating for us to monitor back then was they call it the saffron revolution in Burma. Obviously, it wasn't quite a revolution that ended, it's still ongoing now. But nung minamassacre yung mga monks at binabaril ng mga military sa Yangon, sa Burma, we were monitoring that. And what was fascinating was, despite the fact that Burma, or Myanmar, was one of the most closed societies in the whole world, a lot of information was actually getting out. Not just information, you had full stories coming out. Reporters were able to field stories, but also pictures. And not only pictures, video clips were coming out and being vetted. What was the problem? The problem was that a lot of the videos and pictures that came out were hoaxes. Or at least they were real, but they did not come out in the context of the massacre of those few days. A lot of the pictures, for example, there was a picture of a monk lying face down on the river, bloated and floating. It was a real monk. It really happened in Myanmar. He was really murdered, probably by the military and so on. The only problem was, by the time it came out, it was a 3-year-old picture. So it was not in the context of the massacre. And journalists, traditional media, had a hand in vetting that, in getting that and sending the word out to their partners in the international media, to CNN and BBC, to say, this is not real. Because we know the context. Because we've been covering for the longest time and we've seen this picture before. Which is why, nung nagbaha dito, just last month, diba? A lot of people, actually, and I hope you're not one of them, a lot of people were forwarding pictures from when? From Ondoy. Diba? And this is something that happened just 2 years ago. But people were forwarding pictures from Ondoy with absolutely no context and surprisingly no understanding that this was obviously an old picture. So we're going to need your help in the coming elections because we're going to be flooded, and with every elections we say this, the game has changed so fast. We know we were flooded before, we're going to be flooded even more today. But we need people to help us figure out what's real and what's not real. And this is going to be my final point because my time is up, but I'll take questions later. As you volunteer